Hi students, I'm Una.
And I'm Scott.
I'm a PTE teacher from the UK.
I'm also a PTE teacher from the UK.
And we've been helping students pass their exams for years.
And now we're excited to help you pass your exam too.
Welcome to the Swoosh English PTE podcast.
Let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to the PTE podcast here at Swoosh English. My name's Scott.
And my name is Una.
And today we're going to go through another PTE examination exercise with you. So what are we doing today, Una?
We are doing Write from Dictation from the listening section of the PTE exam.
Oh, I love Write from Dictation. In
fact, Scott?
That might be one of my favourite exercises because I love listening to students I love reading students' sample answer sentences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? What's another favourite task of yours?
What do I not love about PTE? I really love actually doing a bit of a retail lecture. I love students actually using some of those useful exercises in order to put a lecture together.
Oh.
But I love everything.
No, I love them all. I'm not going to choose one.
You can't choose
wonderful tasks.
All your babies, yeah. It's like choosing being a child.
Yes.
Like choosing being a child, yes.
So anyway, today what we're doing is Write from Dictation, of course. So shall we look at an overview then of this task?
Let's start with getting through the overview. It's important to have a grasp of what this task is in a nice general sense in terms of what you have to do on the day of the exam before we start getting into any specifics.
So what do you have to do for Write from Dictation?
So Write from Dictation involves you listening to a very short prompt and then writing out exactly what you heard as it was with no added words, no omitted words, and no spelling mistakes.
Yes, so that is a 3 to 5 second long prompt. So it's very short. And really, we'd say it's approximately around 10 words, usually, that sentence.
Yeah, it might be a little bit longer, but most are probably around 10, if not a bit less. But there have been times where some of the prompts have been a bit longer. But it is only 3 to 5 seconds. Depends on the speed of the speaker, right?
Of course, yeah. And that's important to say, Scott, just when you mentioned, for Write from Dictation, it's really all about you being able to listen to different accents, a variety of different accents, and a variety of different speeds.
Let's not give our tips yet this week.
Oh,
let's give our tips later.
Sorry, I'm getting carried away.
But she does. It's a very valuable tip.
Yes, so 3 to 5 seconds, 10 words long, and usually you'll get about 3 to 4 questions for Write from Dictation.
Yeah,
so
3 to 4 different prompts.
Yes, and remember, it is the last task within the listening section of the PTE exam.
And the PTE exam in general. So when you come to Write from Dictation, you can breathe a sigh of relief, or you can panic, or you can celebrate early. It is the last task that you can do.
Yes, so don't celebrate early. Let's just put that out there. Don't celebrate early. Make sure you finish your Write from Dictation tasks.
No, you need to be steadfast and you need to be focused and get this task finished. Don't leave, don't panic. Keep that focus for this task. So 3 to 4 of these tasks, and you are assessed in both your listening and your writing, because obviously you do need to listen to a short prompt, and of course you have to write your answers. So both your listening and writing scores will be determined by this task.
Yes. And so obviously in terms of how long that you actually spend on this task, well, you've got your 3 to 5 second prompt, in which time we will look at what you have to do through that time as we proceed through this podcast. But then after that, in the second step, which we will again talk about, usually we recommend spending 30 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds maximum, just making sure that you're reviewing and you're happy with that sentence that you're submitting.
So as an absolute maximum, you probably could spend about a minute in each of these tasks, which does actually mean though that you would actually free up some extra time for other tasks in listening if you go by that 2-minute rule, which is obviously a pretty useful thing to do. You have about 30 seconds is adequate in order to write your response. It gives you enough time to obviously look at what you've written down and then put it into a nice formulated sentence.
It really does depend, if you've written down every word as you heard it, or if you need to fill in a lot of words based on your own grammatical knowledge.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that a bit more throughout the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I interrupted you there. What about the scoring for this task? How are you scored?
Okay, so it's 1 point for every correct word spelled correctly. Okay, so spelling is really important for this. And 0 for each incorrect or misspelled word. Okay, so spelling.
Yeah, so even if you obviously miss a word, then you're not going to get that correct. But if you do write down any word, make sure it's spelled correctly. It's an easy way for you to ensure that you get the marks for the work you've already done in writing down that important word.
Yes, so we want to get lots of practice in with our spelling. Any particular words that you find difficult, practice them a lot coming up to the day of the exam.
Okay.
Okay, so then we look just straight into our method.
Let's get into the method. This task is actually, it's pretty short, it's pretty concise. It doesn't actually involve an awful lot, but it still is useful to know about how you probably should proceed with this task.
Yes.
So remember at the very beginning of the task, you do have a little bit of time before that prompt begins. You have 7 seconds in total. So in those 7 seconds, I would recommend that first and foremost, you just stay calm and relaxed. You look at that timer when you see the prompt counting down. Remain calm and relaxed. Obviously, make sure that your equipment's working, the computer's fine, your headset's working, you're comfortable, and also make sure that your mouse is working as well, because you want to ensure that when that timer counts down, that you are ready to type immediately as you hear the prompt.
Yes, so you mean that your cursor is sitting ready for your text to be able to, be typed into the computer. Now, it is important to note that you could, of course, write your sentence down in the erasable notepad that you have. So it's up to you. Decide, are you going to write it down in the erasable notepad, or are you going to put it directly on the computer screen? And whichever you decide upon, then stick to that and practice using that approach to this task.
So absolutely. You would ideally actually have decided that before the day of the examination. You may be more comfortable writing down your answer on obviously a notepad. The erasable notepad is the substitute for that in the PTE examination, or maybe you're more comfortable with typing out your answers. So obviously you have to take into consideration that when you're using the notepad, you'll then have to transfer your answers from that notepad onto the screen. You may think about saving time and just type your answer immediately.
Yes.
But use what you're most comfortable with, because you want to ensure that you are as efficient as possible and as comfortable as possible on the day of the exam.
Yes, so you can make a decision on that and go for it.
Yeah, but have that cursor down and make sure you're ready to type or write, depending on what you are doing in those 7 seconds before the prompt begins.
7 seconds, yes, Scott. So then during that listening recording, so you are going to want to listen carefully, of course, really listen for the meaning. Okay, that's really important. So of course you're going to be writing, taking down all the content words that you can, but make sure that you listen out for the meaning of that sentence, because if you understand the overall meaning, it'll be much easier for you to use your memory to fill in any words that you didn't get down. And yes, so what kind of words are you going to note down, or what words are most important to get down?
Well, the ones that you cannot afford to miss because you only will hear it once are, of course, your key content words. These are the words like your nouns. The nouns can involve names and dates and places and events, etc. Any verbs which describe the action between two nouns, any adjectives which describe the nouns, any adverbs which describe the verbs, etc., etc. As well as, I'd probably say, any important like quantifiers or modals as well, but they can be deducted through your own knowledge of how these keywords interlinked.
Yes.
That's why it's essentially you get an understanding of the overall gist of what the sentence is, so therefore you were able to fill in the gaps from your knowledge that you might have missed when it comes to writing your sentence at the end.
Yeah. So during this point, whenever you're writing down, don't worry about spelling at this point, okay? So it doesn't matter if you misspell a word here, just make sure that you're keeping on top of the listening, okay? You can go back after. So we have the before, we have the during, and the after the listening. After the listening is going to be really important for right from dictation. And you can use your time then to correct those spelling, any spelling that you have incorrect.
Well, precisely because you don't really want to be doing any active corrections or editing while you're listening, because
you don't have time.
Well, you don't have time,
Simply
and
don't have time.
if you miss any of these important words, you're not going to hear it again. Therefore, they're lost, and that's some valuable marks that you instantly lose just for not listening.
Yeah. So
remember, even though obviously you're assessing your writing, listening is the most important skill. It is, after all, a listening skill task primarily. So, don't make any additions. Get those words down on either in the text box or on that erasable notepad while you're listening.
And write as fast as you can without stopping to check. Okay, if you stop to check, like you say, you're going to miss valuable words, and just don't do that. Okay, so write as fast as you can. Hi all, we're going to grab a quick cup of coffee. While we're gone, go to pte.swishenglish.com and grab your free PTE starter course, a gift to get you started on your PTE preparation. That's pte.swishenglish.com for your free PTE starter course.
Do you think it would be useful for students to possibly use any form of abbreviated language or symbols whenever they're taking down their keywords?
Definitely, it could work for write from dictation. If you have an abbreviation in your head that you are really familiar with for a certain word and that you aren't going to possibly forget what the word actually is when you go back to it, that could definitely work.
It could work as long as obviously you have your own abbreviation symbols format in place before you begin the activity. But it could work very well because after all, you do want to write down as speedily as possible. So you might have a really, really long word and you obviously might not be able to write that and listen at the same time. So try and abbreviate that word as best as you can. But as Una says, make sure you abbreviate it correctly and you don't misspell it and then forget how it's spelled and then you're completely lost with that.
Word.
So I guess it depends really on you as a student, what you're more comfortable with.
Yeah, definitely. And at the end of the day, you'll have practiced this task many times and you'll know what is the best way for you to approach it.
Precisely.
Okay, so after the listening then, this is really important, okay? So you've done all you can in relation to listening to that task. You only get to listen to it once. And then after, you're going to go back and check everything. So you're going to check your spelling. That's really important since your mark depends on you having it spelled correctly. You're going to check your grammar. Perhaps you need to fill in words that you left out, such as articles or prepositions. And also your word form. So perhaps you think about the word families here, okay? So I think that's really important for writing dictation, to study your word families. Perhaps you heard that the word was accommodate, okay? Or something like that. But maybe it was actually the noun form of accommodate, which is accommodation, okay?
So that sound at the very end obviously is highly, highly, highly important that you actually pick up on it. But it's not the end of the world if you don't pick up on it, because you might see in your note-taking that accommodate comes at the end of a sentence. Then we know that wouldn't often happen. It often would be the noun form. So your knowledge of how a sentence structure works can be incredibly useful here.
Exactly. So your knowledge of word forms, word families, and parts of speech will really help you then when you're going back to assess, okay, is that sentence correct? Was that really what I heard? Okay.
And also not only that as well, but when it comes to obviously formulating your sentence, you might have obviously written down your keywords, but then of course the auxiliary information in the surrounding sentence may have been missed out. But that's when your own knowledge of how a sentence structure works in terms of what word would go where, what preposition might be there, what auxiliary verb can be there. That's when you can fill in that information that you might have missed out on. For example, if I said to you, Una, microphone, white, loud, what would you fill in with that sentence?
The microphone is white and loud.
There we go. So we've obviously missed out the pronoun there. She's very happy with herself. She's like, yes.
I was freaking out a little bit there. I'm like, what is the sentence he is talking about? But yes,
so
that was an easy one.
This is the pronoun. We can skip that out. Microphone is a key word. We can't actually afford to miss that out. Then we had is our auxiliary verb. We're linking these two words together. Is white and loud. White and loud being two adjectives, which we can use to mix together. So that's an example of how we can use our knowledge of the English language to fill in the auxiliary information.
Exactly. And also when it comes to your spelling, make sure that you double check for things like plurals and ed endings. That's really important. A lot of the time students maybe don't really hear the S. It's very subtle. Sometimes you don't hear the S on the end of the word. Make sure that you're reading to see, okay, is that meant to be a plural? Okay, yes, include that S. And also for the ed endings, you know that we have 3 different sounds for our ed endings, our d, our t, and our id.
I thought you were going to test me there with them, yeah?
No, sorry, no tests for you today, Scott. But yes, make sure that you listen carefully for those ed ending sounds and include them in your sentence.
What are the 3 plural sounds?
Can you answer your own question, please, Scott?
And is.
Ah, yes, that's what he meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So listen out for those as well. Those subtle sounds can also indicate a verb plural sound. It's not all simple as. It can be obviously the voice sounds and the other voice sound is as well.
Very true. Okay, yes, so listen for those things. So what are we moving on to now, Scott?
So I guess that we'll just try and put it all together for the method. So remember that whenever you start, use that time obviously to prepare and get ready. During the listening, you obviously want to then only be listening primarily and taking down notes. You don't want to be making any additions or formulating your sentence necessarily. Also, try and get over the habit or maybe the desire to write down absolutely everything that you hear. Yes, your listening may be incredibly good. You may be able to pick up information very well. But there will always probably be a prompt that you're unsure of, either because of the language that's used, the wording that's used, or maybe just the length of it. It might be one of the lengthy prompts, and you're just not going to be able to get all of that. So if you do miss out on some of those keywords because you're trying to listen to everything, then you're going to lose some those necessary marks. That's why I think it's always a good idea just to focus on the keywords and then formulate your language around it. It is a method that works if you use it well, and just basically takes care of any gaps in your note taking as well.
Yes, very good. Yeah, very good.
The auxiliary information can be formed afterwards, so practice makes perfect with that.
Very good. Yeah, that's a good tip.
So form your sentence with your knowledge of how English language works, what information is missing, what word endings are there, what is the word family root, etc., etc. Yeah. Once you've finished that answer, remember you've got about 30 seconds to do that, so you have plenty of time to form that answer. Click next, and then do it again with the next prompt.
And get ready to celebrate it, like you said.
Not yet, not until you've got all of them done.
Nearly done. Okay.
So
then, will we look at some tips then?
Let's go through a few
tips and things that you can do at home in order to improve for write from dictation. So, of course, the big one is practice your spelling. So make a list of words that you have trouble with. Perhaps you can study some words every day and practice the spelling of those words. I know some words that really cause trouble for even native speakers, never mind other people of another language learning English.
I'm going to guess what it is.
Go for it.
I before E.
Well, there's that one.
Okay.
Yes, that was one of them. I before E rule. And also double consonants.
Oh, double consonants. Yes. The consonant blend sounds.
So perhaps like in application, or, what other word does it come up a lot? Assistant.
Assistant.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, I'm always thinking, like, how many S's are there in this word?
Accelerate as well with two C's. Yeah. Double consonant sounds. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, make sure that you, if you have difficulty with these kind of words, that you really practice and get those down. And also there can be words which sound the same, but are actually two different words.
Oh, I can think of a great example for that.
Go for it. What's your example?
Accept and accept.
Exactly. Accept and accept. Okay, well, there's a subtle difference there, isn't there? Accept.
Words are completely different in their application, but the sounds are very similar, but obviously it depends, your knowledge of how these words work. So accept is obviously an exception. Accept is when something has been confirmed. So you have to look around the sentence for the meaning for the difference between accept and accept. That's where your knowledge of how the words apply in the sentence think, this hasn't been used well. It must be the other form of the word which sounds similar to it.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. It's about your actual knowledge of that vocabulary and where it fits into the context. So being able to read that sentence and, really grasp its meaning, and therefore you can choose the correct words. Okay. Another one is fail.
And?
Fail. Or no, maybe that's not what I'm
thinking
of.
Fail and fell, maybe?
Fail and fail. I forget the word I was thinking of.
Doesn't matter.
I have another word. But anyway.
I can go in the blooper.
Yes. So make sure that if there are two different words, that you are able to decipher between them.
Exactly. So yes, listening. It's going to really annoy you.
The word I was thinking of.
Okay, it'll come to at the very end of the lesson. She's or the podcast. She's going to shout it out.
It will come to me.
Yeah, but just obviously listen for details. Make sure you're able to pick up on those small details, which could be the difference between a word that's correct or incorrect. All right, and I guess what we obviously can say about this task, given that it's very short in nature, is that it's incredibly easy for you to do your own practice for write from dictation. All you need to do, obviously, is listen to any form of talk or presentation. You have so many sentences in that.
Yes, so many.
Just listen to the sentences. Write down what you heard. Try and do, obviously, an exercise like write from dictation, PTE style. Write down those important keywords and then try and formulate the words around it.
Yeah.
And you can do so much practice in your own time.
And doing that practice will really improve your bank of vocabulary because you'll come across words you don't know, and improve your spelling because you're really practicing writing those words down.
Yes.
And another really good thing to do, another really good activity, and we did this in some of our live lessons, is to go through sentences that have mistakes and see if you can decide what is the mistake in that sentence and why. Okay, because what you're going to have to do with write from dictation is review your sentence again, and based on your grammatical knowledge, decide, is that sentence correct? So perhaps there's a mistake.
So it's all entirely relevant to what you'll have to do in the day of the PTE examination.
Yeah, it's a really good idea to look. You can find these kind of activities, online in lots of places. Look through sentences that are incorrect or have some mistakes, and decide what is the mistake in the sentence.
Yeah.
And that will help you with your overall knowledge in terms of assessing your own writing.
And of course, we at Swoosh English will also provide those exercises for you too. But yeah, another point I want to add about that is that even if you've got like a friend that's doing the PTE examination, write incorrect sentences from each other and then do it together.
Yeah, definitely. Give each other feedback. Have a look at your sentences, and you will only improve through tasks like that.
Yep. So let's just summarize those tips. Remember, it's easy to do your own practice via listening sentences online and then making your corrections based around them. Try not to write everything you hear. Don't panic if you miss some of the auxiliary information. Just ensure that you're getting down those keywords and then formulate the sentences around them. And of course, practice your spelling. Obviously, consonant blends, double consonant sounds, as well as I before re's, noun endings, prefixes and suffixes, etc. The list goes on. But some useful things you can do for this task in your own time.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. I hope you got some really good tips today for our Write from Dictation in the listening section of the PTE exam.
So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you struggling with your PTE exam preparation? Are you unsure how to get that score of 65, 79, or even 90? Let us help you get there. Please go to pte.swooshenglish.com and enter discount code PTE10 in order to receive 10% discount on any course.